Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mr. Davidian, and today we are looking at part 2 of our series 100 Most Memorable AP Lang Slides. Today we're looking at argumentation. It'll take about 15 to 20 minutes, so let's get to it. All right, so the very first question is, what is an argument? An argument is two things. At this time, please write down what you think the two things are that make up an argument. All right, if you said it is a claim and evidence, or some synonyms like it is an allegation or a thesis or a premise, plus reasoning or logic or evidence or support or data or proof, then you are correct. Anytime I think of an argument, I always try to break it up into two things. Number one, an arguer has to make a claim, a premise, or an allegation or an opinion, and then they have to back it up with proof. So an argument technically is just a claim, but it's a weak argument unless it has evidence, proof, reasoning, logic, data, support, and all that cool stuff. Okay, a few more terms. Obviously, we're looking at counter arguments, which evaluate the evidence and logic and proof and sources of a particular point of view. You can be critical, maybe ask what they're leaving out, looking at an alternative point of view. How can you disprove the argument, or how can somebody disprove your argument? And obviously try to concede. Also look at the language that they use. Did they use a qualifier? Did they use absolute language like this always happens, this never happens, this happens everywhere, this happens all the time? If they use absolute language, then it weakens the argument. However, if they use a qualifier like possibly, most of the time, most places, most people, they use a qualifier, then it lessens the argument and it's makes it a little more believable, makes it a little more rational. A few more things. Obviously, all arguments are based on assumptions, and which is based on previous evidence or previous beliefs, so you have to check assumptions as well. Let's check out this video by Ben Shapiro, and let's practice analyzing not only his arguments, but the arguments of the people he is analyzing. All right, let's ask a quick question. Do you agree with everything Mr. Shapiro said? Do you find any weaknesses in his claims and evidence? Or vice versa, did you find any weaknesses or claims in the evidence of the people that he showed on his show?
Here is AOC protesting a bill that was voted for in the Senate by literally every Democrat, because everybody understands that time is of the essence. Here was AOC being a crazy person.
Senate majority fight for one of the largest corporate bailouts with as few strings as possible in American history. Shameful. The greed of that fight is wrong for crumbs for our families, and the option that we have is to either let them suffer with nothing or to allow this greed and billions of dollars, which will be leveraged into trillions of dollars, to contribute to the largest income inequality gap in our future.
It's bailouts to corporate. They literally shut down every industry in America. That's not a bailout. That's the government, as I've said 1,000 times, driving a car, a truck, a Ford F-150 through the front wall of your house. And then when they say, oh yeah, we probably should pay to fix up the walls, like, how dare you consider bailouts, sir?
So obviously we have the Toolman model, which is very similar to what I just shared with you, how we have a claim and we have evidence or data reasoning. You always have a qualifier that limits it. You have assumptions, and then you obviously have backing up or previous evidence that supports those assumptions. And then obviously you have the counter arguments. So same thing. Please know what the Toolman model is. You should check out your workbook to see more information on that. All right, now it is your turn. In 2009, AP Lang students were given this prompt about adversity. It says, consider this quotation about adversity from the Roman poet Horace. Then write an essay that defends, challenges, or qualifies, which means that you agree with, but you're going to limit, maybe kind of lessen his argument for your own perspective. Horace's assertion about the role that adversity plays in developing a person's character. Support your argument with appropriate evidence from your reading, observation, and evidence. Now, the first thing I would have you do is obviously circle the keywords in this prompt. The second step would be to write down synonyms. Please write down synonyms for the word adversity. Troubles, obstacles, challenges. You have the word adversity. You can have the word, you have the word problems. You have the word circumstances. So think of some synonyms for that. The second step would be to write down synonyms for a person. Maybe synonyms for the word character. So then obviously you're focused on these particular prompt questions, terms that the AP Lang test wants you to focus on. If you do not focus your entire essay on these particular terms, then obviously you're not going to be answering the prompts. They're not going to give you full credit. Also, look at all the different types of perspectives that this prompt is already giving you an idea about. But don't stop there. Try to think of other perspectives that they're leaving out to broaden your argument. Okay, let's talk about qualifiers. Now, here's the danger. When an arguer does not use a qualifier, which means they do not limit, discuss who, when, where, why, or how many, what level of certainty they are of this particular claim, if they do not dictate or tell you a qualified statement, then inadvertently they're giving an absolute statement. Let's give an example of homework. Teachers should give homework. Now, if I just stop there and I don't qualify my statement, I do not discuss what type of teachers, I don't discuss what type of homework, I don't discuss who they're giving the homework to, I don't discuss how often they're giving the homework, and how much of the homework and how often are they giving this homework. And how certain are you of this argument that teachers should give homework? So obviously you would want to qualify your statement, which obviously if you're a student, you don't want homework. So I guess for my part as a teacher, I have to qualify my statement. Okay, I think only a limited amount of homework should be given to students. Let's say 5-10 minutes, in this case 15 minutes or 20 if you're an AP class, because all you're really trying to do, in my logic, is to reinforce knowledge or practice or mastery of a lesson. So it should be a lesson I've already taught. That's what homework is. You're not trying to give kids homework to learn stuff they haven't learned, like what we're doing now. You've already learned all this, hopefully. So that way I'm qualifying. That way you can, as an arguer, agree with what I'm saying. So let's talk about the next component of an argument. Besides qualifying and limiting your argument with different qualifiers, let's talk about believing, conceding, agreeing with an opponent before you give a counterargument. This is called conceding. When you give a counterargument, you have to listen to your opponent. So in this case, you have to agree with something they're saying, at least acknowledge what they're saying. Even if you disagree, you can at least acknowledge that you heard what they're saying, give them some feedback, recognize maybe their emotion, recognize maybe their concern, recognize maybe some of their statistics that seem logical. But if you have some things that you're looking at as a rebuttal, you have a long list of things you disagree with. Maybe it's their sources. Maybe it's their emotion. They don't have enough logic. Maybe they don't have enough sources. Maybe there's some things you disagree with. But at least concede with your opponent first. Then you can obviously give your contrast.
Discuss, however, but yet still. Nevertheless, on the other hand, I believe that students should never have homework ever in their life. Now, if you use those absolute statements, I would have to say, really? Are you sure? Never? Ever? And obviously, you would fail this argument. So qualify your statement. But obviously, the main point is this. Concede with your opponent. Listen to what they're saying. Obviously, use these synonyms here. And obviously, you can start listing what you believe on the other hand. So concede, contrast, I agree, however, it is true, but I concede yet. I acknowledge still, I recognize, nevertheless. On one hand, but on the other hand, I don't ignore that. On the contrary, even though, nonetheless, it is obvious. Regardless, naturally, we should all want to have some expertise in certain skills. Conversely, there's some skills in school that are not that important. There you go. Have a great day. Make sure you concede and contrast.
Okay, so this is more review on how to state your opinion, but in this case, maybe we don't want to use the word I. Maybe we want to use or concede without using the word I, such as it is true, without a doubt. There is no doubt that we should have homework, but not all the time.
Undoubtedly, unequivocally, certainly. Granted, we should breathe oxygen to survive. Even more important than oxygen is... I don't really know what's more important than oxygen. Okay, by the same token, and some, most, and yet. And let's give a few more words, how to say your opinion without using the word I. The fact is, just use an absolute statement. I know I wanted to teach you guys this last video, so here we go. The fact is, and you just state the fact, we need oxygen. This is the most important thing we need to do. Proves we, based on, it is certain, it seems a better, yet it is more importantly, even more essential as that seems.
All right, guys, let's move on to the 2013 AP Lang Question 3 prompts that were given to students. This time I want you to work on it by yourself, reading the prompts, reading the different quotes.
And obviously developing your own position. Remember to try to use vocabulary and synonyms in the prompts. Try to use vocabulary as you can see in contrast. Make sure you qualify your argument and obviously use a lot of different types of evidence, different types of perspectives. Don't just focus on, maybe just personal. Don't try to broaden your sophistication into different areas. All right? Good luck.
All right, when you get a chance, you can look at the sample essay on page 265 that students wrote. I believe this is a 9 essay, a passing essay. Okay, great job, guys. Now, this is the last assignment for today. Today, you guys are going to be Martin Luther King. Besides just looking at the basic elements of an argument, we want to try to incorporate different syntax to our argument.
Arguments and also different figurative language, because this can help strengthen your position. So obviously syntax, you can use different antimetabole, parallel structure, juxtaposition. You can use antithetical statements. And then for figurative language, you could use imagery, metaphor, simile, analogy, anecdotes, personal testimony, and things like that. Besides the basic appeals such as ethos, pathos, and logos.
At this time, the prompt you're going to get is from 2012. It is reprinted on page 63 in your workbook. At this time, I would like you to incorporate a little more sophisticated arguments, style, figurative language, syntactical devices into your argument this time. Now you're trying to be Martin Luther King, JFK, Abraham Lincoln, and Gabby Felix and Cameron Canada. All right? Maybe try to write 2 or 3 paragraphs on this particular topic. Good luck. All right, guys, that is it for today's lesson. Hopefully you guys learned a lot about argumentation. Please join us for our part 3 of this 9-part series where we argue further. How do we take our arguments and go deeper, further, and more sophisticated in our perspectives? Hey, thanks for watching. Have a great day. God bless. We'll see you soon.